Justice doesn't knock on the door, it kicks it in when the time is right. Let that sink in, chosen one. Because while they believed they could get away with everything they did to you, the universe has been watching silently, gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment to strike. And now? The walls they built to trap you are closing in on them. Their names are being written into the kind of story no one wants to star in, the one where the final scene ends behind bars. Now imagine this for a moment. Chosen one. They plotted, they schemed, they whispered in dark corners, thinking no one would hear. They thought they could take your life, your freedom, your peace. They tried to poison your name, bury your reputation, and leave you gasping for air. But instead of you falling, they're the ones sinking. It's like watching someone set fire to a house, only to realize they locked themselves inside before striking the match. That's the kind of reversal the universe loves. Swift, poetic, and merciless. Here's a fact you should hold close. Over 90% of the time, people who think they've covered their tracks are undone by their own arrogance. They brag, they slip up, they trust the wrong person, they leave crumbs where they thought there was silence, and those crumbs, they lead investigators straight to the feast of their guilt. That's exactly what's happening now. The universe doesn't need your defense. It lets them incriminate themselves with every careless move. They thought they were hunting you, but really, they were writing the warrant for their own arrest. And thank you, chosen one, for being here with me in this space. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing like and subscribe to help spread this message to more souls. It's the responsibility of all of us to spread the light. Thank you, chosen one, for being part of this mission. You are not just a listener, you're part of a force, a movement that can't be silenced. Now, back to the truth we can't ignore. They couldn't take your life, chosen one. They wanted to. Oh, they tried every trick in the book. Legal traps, backroom gossip, secret setups. But no matter how many times they came at you, the universe put a stop sign in their path. They couldn't touch your life, but here's the brutal twist. The universe can touch theirs instantly. And when that moment comes, it doesn't come slow. It doesn't warn. It flips everything upside down in the blink of an eye. One day, they're laughing at you, mocking you, enjoying their freedom. The next, they're in handcuffs, cameras flashing, their secrets spilled all over the floor. Think about it. The same mouths that cursed your name will be forced to explain their own crimes. The same hands that tried to push you down will be chained at the wrists. The same feet that ran after you will shuffle in orange jumpsuits. This isn't just karma. It's the universe showing you, chosen one, that no weapon formed against you prospers for long. They thought they had immunity, but no one escapes when the universe decides the time has come. And here's the beauty in it all. You don't have to lift a finger. You don't need to chase revenge. You don't need to prove yourself. Their collapse is proof enough. Their downfall is the evidence. While you rise, they crumble. While you keep moving forward, they're stuck replaying their mistakes in the cold echo of a cell. The very people who once thought they could take your life will spend their lives knowing they couldn't even protect their own freedom. So buckle up, chosen one, because this isn't just about earthly justice, it's cosmic justice. It's bigger than judges, lawyers, or courtrooms. It's the universe writing the ending of a story they thought they were in control of. And the way this script is flipping, even Hollywood couldn't come up with a twist this perfect. The same stage they tried to drag you onto has now become the stage where their mask falls off. Their lies, their games, their betrayals, exposed under the brightest light. They're going to jail, chosen one. And this time, It's not just about metal bars or prison walls. It's about the universe taking back the life they tried to steal from you and making them live with the weight of what they've done. Their freedom is ending where yours begins. This is not their victory, it's their sentence. And when the universe moves, no one can appeal. So, chosen one, are you ready to walk with me through this step by step? Because what you're about to hear isn't just a story, it's a revelation of how the universe flips the script on those who dared to come for you. Drop a comment below with the number 777 if you can feel it in your spirit that their time is up, that justice is already moving in silence. And listen closely. If you are truly a chosen one, you'll feel that pull inside you, urging you to stay until the very last word. Because every detail matters, every twist in this message will confirm what you already know deep down. They couldn't take your life, but the universe can take theirs in an instant. So lean in, chosen one, because this isn't entertainment, it's confirmation. And now, let's begin. Number 1. They tried to delete a soul the universe refuses to erase. Erase me if you dare, but remember, ink stains are easier to wash away than destiny. Let that sit heavy for a moment, chosen one, because that's exactly what they tried to do to you. They wanted to treat your existence like a file on their computer. Highlight it, drag it, hit delete, and watch it vanish. They thought you were expendable, replaceable, forgettable. But here's the gut punch they didn't expect. You're not a file, you're fire. And fire doesn't disappear just because someone wishes it away. It spreads, it scorches, it lingers in the air long after the flames are gone. Now imagine this. A painter spends years creating a masterpiece, layer after layer of color, texture, and meaning. Then some arrogant vandal storms in with a bucket of paint, thinking one splash will erase centuries of craft. But instead, their clumsy strike only makes the true masterpiece shine brighter once it's restored. That's what your enemies did to you. They tried to cover, to smear, to ruin. But chosen one, what they really did was highlight the depth of who you are. Their attacks became the backdrop that made your survival look like art. You might ask, why did they even try so hard to erase me? And the answer is simple. They saw something in you they couldn't copy, something that scared them because it wasn't man-made, wasn't bought, wasn't faked. You carry what they'll never own, an essence the universe encoded into you before they even had the thought to hate you. They wanted to erase you, not because you were weak, but because your very existence screamed a truth they could never silence. You were built to last. Here's a brutal fact, chosen one. Psychologists have studied this again and again. People who can't control you will try to destroy your reputation instead. Why? Because it's the last weapon of the powerless. They'll slander you, twist your words, create false narratives, and hope the crowd joins their chorus. But crowds are fickle. Lies don't age well, and when the dust settles, the truth stands unbothered, stronger than before. That's exactly what happened to you. They couldn't take your life, so they tried to bury your name. Yet here you are, breathing, thriving, louder than ever. They thought slander would be the knife, but it turned out to be their confession. Every whisper, every smear campaign only exposed their obsession with you. Because think about it, why spend so much energy trying to erase someone they claim doesn't matter? Why waste nights and schemes on a person they said was irrelevant? The truth is, their obsession proved your importance more than your silence ever could. Your survival became their mirror. And they hated the reflection. But here's the part they'll never admit. Every time you rose from the ashes, you proved they weren't fighting an ordinary human. They were fighting a force. You became a living contradiction to their lies. Your peace mocked their chaos. Your endurance mocked their cruelty. Your existence mocked their failure. And the more you endured, the more desperate they became. They weren't just fighting to erase you anymore. They were fighting to erase what your survival revealed about them. That they were weak, that they were cruel, that they were the villains in a story they tried to narrate as yours. Now listen to this, chosen one. When someone tries to erase a person the universe has stamped with permanence, they don't just fail, they self-destruct. It's like trying to cut water with a blade. The blade only dulls itself while the water remains. That's what happened to them. They sharpened their knives on you, but you didn't break. Their weapons boomeranged, and the scars they wished for you became the cracks in their own mask. Every lie was a breadcrumb back to their own guilt. Every scheme became a paper trail of their corruption. And this is the poetic justice they never saw coming. They thought they were building your coffin, but they were really writing their own sentence. They thought they were erasing you, but they were documenting themselves. They thought they were silencing your story, but they were publishing their downfall. The universe has a way of letting arrogance trap itself. And now, chosen one, they're the ones caught. They couldn't take your life, but the universe can take theirs in an instant. That's not revenge, it's balance. That's not cruelty, it's correction. Think of it this way. They tried to unplug your light like it was a lamp, but you're not plugged into them. You're plugged into the source that fuels galaxies. They don't have the power to dim you, no matter how many switches they flip. And now the same light they tried to cut off is exposing every shadow they live in. They thought they could erase you, but instead your glow is forcing the world to see them exactly as they are. That's the kind of justice no courtroom can provide. So let me ask you, chosen one, do you see it now? Do you see why they're terrified? It's not just about your survival, it's about what your survival says. It says they failed. It says they lied. It says their power was an illusion all along. And nothing terrifies a fraud more than the moment they realize their mask is slipping in front of everyone. That's where they are right now, panicking, crumbling, exposed. And here's the closing truth. They couldn't erase you because you were never written in pencil. You were carved in stone. You were sealed in permanence. And when someone fights permanence, they don't win. They shatter themselves. That's why they're facing consequences now. That's why the universe is closing in on them. They couldn't take your life, but now they have to live knowing the universe can take theirs instantly. No apology, no excuse, no cover-up will undo what's coming. Their war against you was really a war against destiny. And in wars like that, destiny always wins. Number 2, you were the test, and they failed in the most unforgivable way. Expose a liar to truth, and you'll see if they're willing to change, or willing to destroy the truth instead. That's exactly what happened when you walked into their lives, chosen one. You weren't just another passerby, not another background character in their story. You were the test. The universe placed you right there as a mirror, a measuring stick, a living checkpoint that revealed everything they had buried beneath the surface. And instead of choosing growth, instead of choosing honesty, they chose treason against their own souls. Now imagine this for a moment. A teacher lays a simple test in front of a student, not to fail them, but to show them what they've learned. The answers are already inside them. The teacher is only revealing the truth. But the student panics, cheats, and tears the paper apart, thinking they can escape judgment. They don't realize that the act of destruction itself is the proof they weren't ready. That's what your enemies did. You weren't sent to expose them by force. You exposed them simply by existing. And when the light of your presence revealed their shadows, they didn't heal, they retaliated. They turned the test into a crime scene. One hard truth needs to be said. People don't fail because they meet challenges. They fail because challenges expose who they've always been. And that's why your very presence irritated them. You didn't have to argue. You didn't have to accuse. You didn't even have to defend yourself. You just stood there, authentic, unshaken, unmasked, and that alone was enough to make their lies sweat. Your existence screamed a truth they didn't want to hear. That all their fake personas, all their manipulations, all their carefully crafted masks were paper thin. And when the paper caught fire under your light, they panicked. You might ask, but why would they go so far? Why would they risk everything just to try to tear me down? Because, chosen one, your presence became the line they had to cross to prove who they really were. They could have chosen loyalty, respect, gratitude. Instead, they chose envy, betrayal, cruelty. It wasn't about you, it was about them. You revealed the raw truth of their character, and the universe doesn't play games when the test is failed that badly. Here's another metaphor for you. Imagine a doctor places a patient under bright hospital lights to examine them. The light isn't there to hurt, it's there to reveal the infection so it can be healed. But instead of accepting treatment, the patient jumps up and tries to smash the light, screaming that the light is the problem. That's what they did. You were the light. You were the chance for them to confront their infection, their sickness, their cruelty. But instead of healing, they tried to destroy the very presence that could have changed everything. And in doing so, they confirmed their own diagnosis. They were beyond denial, addicted to their own darkness. Quote this in your heart, chosen one. The presence of light is never the problem. It's the shadow that resents being seen. They hated you because they hated their own reflection. You didn't bring the chaos. You revealed it. You didn't make them cruel. You simply showed them to themselves. And instead of taking accountability, they pointed their weapons at you. That was their treason, the betrayal of the opportunity to rise higher. And here's the irony. By trying to destroy you, they documented themselves. Every lie, every smear, every betrayal wasn't just an attack on you. It was a confession, written in bold letters, stamped with their fingerprints. You became the evidence the universe needed. You didn't have to defend yourself because they defended your importance with every attack. The harder they hit, the louder the truth screamed. And now those attacks are the very reason they can't escape judgment. Let me ask you another question you might be thinking. So what happens to people who fail a test this badly? The answer is simple: consequences. Not because the universe is petty, but because the universe is just. They touched what wasn't theirs to harm, and balance doesn't let that slide. Their retaliation sealed their fate. They didn't just lose access to you, they activated forces that strip away everything they thought they controlled. Their lies turn on them. Their alliances crumble. Their plans backfire. Slowly, strategically, inevitably, the sentence unfolds. Think about this metaphor. A person is given a golden key that could open doors to freedom, abundance, and peace. Instead of using it wisely, they throw it away, then use their bare hands to break into a vault that was never meant for them. Not only do they fail to open the vault, but alarms blare, cameras record, and now the authorities are on their trail. That's them. You were the key. You were the blessing, but they rejected you, tried to break into what wasn't theirs, and in doing so, they triggered alarms that can't be silenced. Another quote to hold on to: when someone tries to destroy what was sent to help them, they don't just lose the blessing, they summon the judgment. That's the law of balance. And you, chosen one, are living proof of this law in action. You weren't just a target, they made you into evidence. Every attempt to harm you became another count against them, another charge written in the case the universe has been building all along. Now let's answer one last question lingering in your mind. Why me? Why was I chosen to be the test? Because the universe knew you would survive it. It knew your light was strong enough to endure their darkness. You weren't chosen to be destroyed. You were chosen to reveal, to stand as a mirror so clear that even their lies couldn't distort the reflection. That's why they hate you, and that's why you're still standing. The test is over, chosen one. They failed, not by accident but by choice. They touched what was sacred, they crossed lines they can never uncross, and now they face the consequences written by their own hands. They couldn't take your life, but they've forfeited control over their own. And no matter how they spin it, no matter what story they try to tell, the truth is set. They didn't just lose you, they lost their chance to pass the test. And now, they're left with the weight of failure, the collapse of illusions, and the inescapable hand of judgment pressing down. Because remember this: the universe doesn't fail you by sending tests. It fails them when they choose treason over transformation. And chosen one, that's exactly why they're going to jail, physically, spiritually, socially. Their story is ending where yours begins. They couldn't take your life, but the universe can take theirs in an instant. Number 3, they tried to bend the universe and broke themselves instead. Those who try to chain what they didn't create end up strangled by their own ropes. That's exactly what happened here, chosen one. They weren't just jealous of you, they weren't just petty. What they did was far deeper, far darker. They crossed into dangerous territory, breaking laws of balance they never even understood. They thought they could control you with lies, manipulation, and schemes, but what they were really doing was wrestling against the order of the universe itself. And when you wrestle against the universe, you don't win, you self-destruct. Now imagine this: someone builds a dam to block a river, thinking they can control the current. At first, the water looks contained. It seems like their plan is working. But pressure builds in silence, cracks form, and when that dam bursts, it wipes out everything in its path, including the fool who thought they could hold it back. That's what they did with you. They tried to dam up your progress, to hold back your flow, but every time you rose again, it only proved how powerless they truly were. You might be asking, why did they keep pushing, even when it kept failing? Because control was their addiction. They couldn't stand the fact that you didn't fold, didn't bow, didn't play by their rules. They thought if they twisted reality long enough, they could rewrite destiny. But chosen one, destiny doesn't negotiate. The moment they tried to block what they didn't create, they signed their own sentence. Here's a fact for you. Throughout history, every empire built on lies and manipulation has eventually collapsed, not because of outside enemies, but because it violated the very laws of balance. The Romans, the Soviets, the most ruthless cartels, every one of them eventually crumbled under the weight of their own corruption. Why? Because you cannot sustain power that's built on broken laws. That's the fate your enemies are facing right now. They called it strategy, but it was suicide. They called it control, but it was chaos. And now, everything they used to try and block you, lies, setups, betrayals, has become evidence against them. They couldn't cage you, chosen one. But now, they're trapped in cages of their own making. They couldn't stop your rise, but now they're crushed under the weight of their own fall. The bill is due, and the universe always collects, with interest. Number 4. When they couldn't end you, they tried to murder your mission. They couldn't kill your body, so they tried to bury your name, but burying truth only makes it grow louder. That's the cruel obsession they carried for you, chosen one. They realized they couldn't stop your heartbeat, so they targeted your hope, your voice, your future. They thought if they couldn't put you in a grave, they could at least assassinate your destiny. And so they launched a different kind of attack, not with knives or bullets, but with whispers, lies, and shadows. Imagine this: a snake that can't bite goes after the nest instead. That's what they did. They slithered into conversations, poisoning minds with venom they disguised as concern. They staged themselves as victims in public, while behind closed doors they plotted to make you look unstable, untrustworthy, unworthy. They thought if they could isolate you, drain you of support, and tarnish your reputation, your mission would crumble. But here's the mistake they made. Purpose isn't fragile. Destiny isn't paper-thin. The more they pressed against it, the more unshakable it became. You might wonder, but why was their hate so relentless? Because your light exposed the shadows they lived in. Your influence threatened the lies they thrived on. The idea of your voice being heard, your reach expanding, your gifts shining, it terrified them. So they doubled down, working overtime to paint you as the problem. Yet every time they tried to assassinate your destiny, they fertilized it instead. Every betrayal made you bolder. Every slander turned into a spotlight. Every pit they dug became another stage where the truth would stand taller. Here's a fact you can hold on to. History has proven that reputations built on lies collapse under their own weight. Think of Salem's false accusers. Think of McCarthy's witch hunts. At first, the lies spread fast, but in the end, truth crushed them. The same is happening here. Their slander wasn't just baseless, it became evidence. What they used to destroy you has boomeranged, exposing them instead. And now the irony has arrived. Those pits they dug for you, they've become their prison cells. Those chains of lies they tried to wrap around your name, they're the handcuffs tightening around their own wrists. The very energy they sent to silence you is now echoing back at them in the sound of justice knocking on their doors. Chosen one, let this sink in. The level of attack against your destiny is proof of how powerful it truly is. They couldn't erase your mission. They branded it into history by making their war against you so obvious. And now, the silence they once tried to enforce has been shattered. Your destiny is louder than ever, and their downfall is the confirmation. They thought they were assassins of your purpose. Instead, they became witnesses to your rise. Number 5. The universe let them build their own noose, one lie at a time. Give a liar enough rope, and they'll weave their own noose. That's the law your enemies never understood. Chosen one. They mistook silence for safety. They mistook patience for permission. They thought the universe was ignoring their wickedness because nothing crashed down on them right away. But the truth is simple. Justice is never rushed. Justice waits. It lets people keep walking, keep boasting, keep digging until the very hole they prepared for you swallows them whole. Now imagine this. A thief believes he's clever because he's stolen for years without being caught. He grows cocky, sloppy, arrogant, until one day he pockets a trinket while the cameras roll. That final act is what brings the entire house of cards crashing down. That's your enemies, chosen one. They bragged too long, schemed too openly, and plotted too boldly. Every move they made wasn't proof of victory. It was evidence stacking against them. You might wonder, why didn't the universe stop them sooner? Why was I left to endure their chaos? Because patience is not weakness. Patience is strategy. The universe gave them moments to turn back, opportunities to humble themselves, chances to undo the damage. But instead of slowing down, they pressed harder. Instead of choosing truth, they doubled down on lies. And when someone's ego gets louder than their conscience, they write their own ending in arrogance. Here's a fact worth knowing. History is filled with people who mistook temporary success in evil as permanent immunity. Dictators, crime bosses, corrupt leaders, they all rose high and fell harder. Their arrogance convinced them they were untouchable, but justice always arrives. Always. That's what's happening now. They built their gallows not with wood and nails, but with gossip, betrayal, manipulation, and schemes. Every lie was another plank. Every betrayal was another rope knot. And now that noose is tightening around them. The irony is brutal. The same traps they set for you are the ones they're caught in. The same lies they spread are now the chains around their own throats. They thought silence meant escape, but silence was the sound of justice collecting evidence. Now, there's no escape. The bill has come due. The patience has run out. The sentence has arrived. And the universe doesn't issue warnings at this stage. It delivers consequences. Chosen one, let this truth steady you. They never got away with anything. They only bought time to build their own downfall. And now the crash is here. Number 6. Your silence was the loudest evidence of all. Silence is dangerous. It's the sound that makes liars panic the most. Chosen one, that's what shook them. They expected you to clap back, to argue, to scream, to prove yourself. But you didn't. You didn't fight with fists or with slander. You fought by standing still, by letting your innocence breathe louder than their venom. And that restraint, your refusal to drop to their level, became the very weapon that tore their lies apart. Now imagine this, a courtroom full of noise, every witness shouting, every lawyer twisting the story. Then suddenly, a single piece of video evidence plays, and the entire room goes silent. That's what your innocence did. While they shouted, while they exaggerated, while they created stories out of thin air, your truth sat quietly, waiting for its moment. And when it surfaced, it drowned out every lie in a single breath. You might ask, but why didn't I feel defended when I stayed silent? Why did it feel like their words carried more weight? Because justice takes time to ripen. Lies travel fast, but they rot quickly. Truth takes longer, but when it arrives, it's unshakable. Every false rumor they spread was another nail in their own coffin, another exhibit of evidence against them. And while you were quiet, the universe was collecting. Every whisper, every smear, every twisted tale was being documented, not by you, but by a force far bigger than you. Here's a fact to settle in your chest. Research shows that lies often collapse under the pressure of consistency. People forget the details of the stories they invent. They slip up, contradict themselves, reveal their own fraud. That's exactly what's happening now. Those who once believed their noise are seeing the cracks. The same mouths that once screamed confidently are stuttering, backpedaling, exposing themselves without realizing it. And chosen one, your calm became their undoing. People began asking questions. Why hasn't this person retaliated? Why hasn't this person broken down? Why does their peace seem stronger than the chaos around them? And in those questions, the lies unraveled. Your silence forced the world to compare two pictures, your steady strength against their constant drama. And in that contrast, the truth became undeniable. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need to prove yourself. You didn't need to swing back. Your very presence, your endurance, your refusal to bend, those became the testimony. And now, the ones who tried to bury you under falsehoods are the ones sinking in the quicksand of their own deception. Your innocence was louder than every accusation, and today it's their noise that's choking them, not you. Number 7. They forgot the universe has cameras they can't hack. Every secret has an audience. The walls, the air, the silence itself remembers. That's the part they underestimated. Chosen one. They thought secrecy was safety. They thought that if no one was around, if no cameras were rolling, if no witnesses could speak, then their schemes would vanish into the dark. But the universe doesn't need cameras to catch criminals. It doesn't need a recording device to gather proof. Every whisper, every smirk, every fake smile, followed by venom. It was all documented by forces they couldn't see and couldn't escape. Now imagine this. A thief sneaks into a room thinking no one's watching, unaware there's an invisible scanner tracing every fingerprint he leaves behind. He feels clever, but every step is being mapped. Every touch is evidence. That's what your enemies did. They laughed in the dark, they planned in secret, they covered their tracks, but all along they were under cosmic surveillance. Their deleted messages, logged, their whispered curses, recorded, their shady handshakes and midnight calls, captured. They thought you were blind, but it wasn't you they needed to fear. It was the universe watching without blinking. You might be asking, but why did it take so long for those secrets to come out? Because exposure ripens like fruit. It doesn't happen instantly. The universe allows people to go deep enough into their lies that when the curtain is finally pulled back, the evidence is undeniable. And now the curtain is gone. Their allies are betraying them. Their devices are being seized. The very people they trusted are flipping under pressure. It's not coincidence. It's consequence. Here's a fact. Investigators often say criminals incriminate themselves more through arrogance than evidence. They talk too much, leave small trails, assume they're invisible. That's exactly what happened here. They thought their rituals were hidden, their backroom deals safe, their mockery of unseen laws untouchable. But the same unseen realm they dismissed is now dragging their secrets into daylight. Chosen one, your silence made them believe you were clueless. But all along, the universe was building a file thicker than any courtroom case. You didn't need to catch them. You didn't need to retaliate. Every move they made was another entry in the record against them. And now, justice has arrived in plain sight through legal judgments, public exposure, private collapse, and patterns of failure they can't explain away. They thought they could outsmart divine order. They thought the shadows would protect them, but the light has already come, and now there's nowhere left to hide. Number 8. They made deals in darkness and signed their own sentence. Every contract written in the dark is just a receipt for destruction. That's the reality your enemies refuse to see. Chosen one. They believed they could outmaneuver the universe by whispering vows in secret, shaking hands behind closed doors, and forging alliances in places no light could reach. They thought these hidden contracts gave them dominion over you, over outcomes, over territory they were never authorized to touch. But in truth, they weren't buying power. They were purchasing their own downfall, one signature at a time. Now imagine this. A gambler sits at a rigged table, convinced he's winning because the dealer smiles. He keeps betting everything, his home, his family, his soul, blind to the fact that the house always collects. That's what they did when they dabbled in rituals, swore oaths, or linked themselves with societies and circles, cloaked in influence and prestige. They thought they were untouchable, armored by shadows. But chosen one, shadows can't rewrite light. No deal made in darkness can cancel what the universe already carved into existence. You might ask, but why did it look like they were winning for a while? Why did the darkness seem to work? Because corruption often wears a mask of success before it implodes. It's the illusion of security before the collapse. For a season, they strutted like kings, flaunted their influence, and mocked the unseen laws they didn't believe in. But spiritual fraud always ends the same way, in bankruptcy. What they gained in secrecy is being snatched in public. What they thought was leverage is turning into liability. Here's a brutal fact. Corruption has an expiration date. History is littered with the names of rulers, leaders, and power brokers who sold their integrity for control. They looked invincible, but their empires fell like houses of cards, because deals with darkness always come with fine print. The cost is always higher than the prize, and that's where your enemies stand now, facing losses, confusion, exposure, even the betrayal of the very forces they once partnered with. Because darkness doesn't do loyalty, it does loans, and the debt always comes due with interest. Chosen one, here's the contrast that burns them most. While they were busy signing their way into destruction, you didn't need to sign a thing. You were already stamped with purpose, already covered, already chosen. They tried to buy what you were born with, and in doing so, they sealed their fate. The difference between what was forced through darkness and what was ordained through light is now undeniable. Their contracts became their chains. Your silence became your shield. And now the whole world is about to see which one lasts. Number 9. They laughed at your faith. Now they're crying for a lifeline. They mocked what kept you alive, only to discover it's the only thing keeping them from drowning. That's the bitter irony, chosen one. They couldn't stomach the fact that after everything they threw at you, slander, sabotage, betrayal, you still held on to belief. You still stood tall in trust. You still whispered to the universe, even when everything around you was collapsing, and that infuriated them. They mistook your faith for fragility, your trust for weakness, your hope for naivety. But what they were really mocking was the very force that was shielding you while they plotted. Now imagine this. A man lost in the desert laughs at another for carrying a canteen, calling him foolish for believing he'll need it. But when the sun blazes hotter, when the throat goes dry, when desperation hits, guess who's begging for a sip? That's exactly what's happening now. They laughed when you prayed. They rolled their eyes when you trusted. They mocked when you spoke about hope. But now, when their own walls are caving in, when their peace has evaporated, when doors keep slamming in their faces, they're the ones whispering the same words they once mocked. You might ask yourself, why did they hate my faith so much? Because faith is defiance. It's power they can't measure, control, or manipulate. Your trust was a mirror reflecting their emptiness. Every time you believed, you exposed the fact that they had nothing but schemes to lean on, and that's why they tried so hard to destroy it. They knew if they could strip you of faith, they could strip you of everything, but you didn't fold. You didn't break. Your belief was forged in fire, tested in storms, refined under pressure. Here's a fact. Studies on resilience show that people with unshakable belief, whether in purpose, destiny, or a higher order, are more likely to survive trauma and rebuild stronger. That's you, chosen one. You weren't naive. You were resilient. And now the evidence is undeniable. They thought they were powerful because they could mock. But mocking doesn't build shields. Sarcasm doesn't restore peace. And arrogance doesn't stop consequences. Now the tables have turned. The same mouths that mocked your prayers are whispering their own, begging not to be exposed, pleading not to lose it all. But it's too late. Pride had its moment. Now humility is being forced on them, not gently, but with pressure, with collapse, with the weight of consequences they can't escape. The force they dismissed as fantasy is now very real in their reality, and the silence they hear in return isn't absence, it's justice, taking its time, making sure the whole world sees what they once laughed at. Chosen one, hold this truth close. Your faith was never foolish. It was your fortress, and now the ones who mocked it are learning the hardest way possible. You were covered all along. Number 10. They fired dark weapons, forgetting the battlefield was never theirs. They borrowed power from shadows, but forgot the light owns every corner of the field. That's the mistake they made, chosen one. Their desperation to stop you became so twisted, so reckless, that they reached for weapons they didn't even understand. They weren't satisfied with gossip or lies anymore. They wanted control so badly that they turned to the darkest corners of spiritual warfare. They paid for rituals, whispered your name on altars, consulted false prophets, and called on forces they thought would cage you. But here's the truth. They weren't summoning victory, they were summoning their own destruction. Now imagine this. A child sneaks into a chemistry lab and starts mixing dangerous chemicals just to see what happens. At first, there's smoke, maybe even sparks, but the real explosion doesn't happen until the whole formula backfires and burns the one who mixed it. That's exactly what they did. They thought dabbling in darkness would scare you, weaken you, maybe even break you, but instead, the only thing they guaranteed was that those same forces would turn on them. Because darkness doesn't serve, it consumes. You might be asking, but why did it look like their attacks worked for a while? Why did I feel the pressure, the confusion, the heavy weight? Because even shadows can shake the room temporarily. Even storms can knock you off balance. But storms always pass, and shadows scatter when the true owner of the battlefield steps in. Your covering was never fragile. You weren't just a random target. They picked a fight with someone sealed, protected, and marked long before their envy even formed. That's why every ritual, every curse, every whispered hex failed to erase you. Here's a fact. In every culture, history shows that those who use dark power for selfish gain eventually pay the steepest price. Ancient rulers, secret societies, even modern manipulators, none of them escape the collapse that follows. Power, borrowed from shadows, always comes with a bill too heavy to pay. And now, that bill is crashing down on your enemies. Their health is shaking, their minds are restless, their alliances are fracturing, their finances are drying up. The same forces they invited to destroy you are devouring them from the inside out. Chosen one, understand this. They never owned the war. They never had control of the field. They stepped into a battlefield governed by laws they couldn't rewrite. And now the universe has declared the verdict. Their weapons are useless. Their altars are shattered. The curses they launched have returned like boomerangs, cutting their own hands. They thought they could win through darkness, but light was always waiting. And light always wins. Number 11. The same hands that tried to dig your grave are now in handcuffs. They went out of their way to destroy you. They lied, schemed and manipulated with precision, thinking they would finally get rid of you for good. They used their hands to dig deep, not into the ground, but into your life. They tried to bury your voice, your influence, your destiny. They created stories, planted false evidence, turned people against you, and all the while believed they were winning. They thought you would break under the pressure, that you would fold, disappear, or crumble into silence. But what they didn't know was that you weren't just built to survive. You were born with eternal purpose. You weren't just any person. You were chosen to free others, to speak truth, to carry light. So when they tried to silence you, they weren't just attacking an individual. They were trying to put divine purpose in a coffin. They underestimated how sacred your mission really was, and now the very hands that tried to dig your grave are being cuffed, restrained, and judged by the same systems they once thought they could manipulate. This isn't just justice, it's divine irony. The setup they designed for you has become their downfall. The lies they created are now being used against them. The traps they set have turned into evidence. Their fingerprints are all over their own destruction. What's happening now is more than legal. It's spiritual justice playing out in real time. God is using the earthly justice system as an instrument to show the world that when he says, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper," he means it. And sometimes the consequences don't show up in the next life. They show up right here, in handcuffs, in courtrooms, and in shattered reputations. They thought you were the one being judged. But the whole time, they were the ones on trial. They didn't even realize they were being watched, documented, and set up by their own pride. Now they're sitting in the very pit they dug for you, and all they can do is watch in disbelief as the world witnesses poetic justice unfold. Number 12. Their attacks became the wind beneath your rise. They dug pits for your downfall, but those pits turned into platforms. That's the irony they never saw coming. Chosen one. Every scheme, every whisper, every attempt to sabotage you wasn't the end they dreamed of. It was the ladder you climbed. They thought they were blocking doors, but those locked doors only redirected you to gates they couldn't touch. They thought they were stealing opportunities, but all they did was create space for better ones to fall into your lap. Their entire campaign to ruin you became the very reason you stand taller today. Now imagine this. An enemy throws bricks at you to wound you. At first, you duck, you cover, you take the hits. But then you realize you can use those same bricks to build. And while they keep hurling, you're stacking, rising, elevating. That's what happened with you. Their malice became your material. Their cruelty became your construction. They didn't stop you. They promoted you. You might be asking, but how did their hatred help me? Because adversity is an uninvited teacher. Every time they tried to crush you, you became stronger, sharper, more alert. Their traps refined you. Their betrayals toughened your resolve. Their gossip taught you discernment. The very tools they built for your destruction turned into the training ground for your authority. What they meant as subtraction became multiplication. What they meant as chains became the proof of your freedom. Here's a fact. In psychology, there's something called post-traumatic growth. It's the phenomenon where people don't just survive hardship. They come out stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever. That's you, chosen one. They thought they'd traumatize you into silence, but instead, you transformed the trauma into power. You didn't just survive, you evolved, and now you're standing in positions they swore you'd never reach. But here's the other side, the one they're choking on. The same traps they set for you are now evidence of who they really are. Their charm is cracking, their stories are unraveling, their lies are collapsing under the weight of their own arrogance. People are finally seeing what you never had to explain. You stayed quiet, and the truth screamed for you. Their judgment is unfolding not because you wished for revenge, but because exposure is the only logical outcome of corruption. Chosen one, your rise is not just your vindication, it's their undoing. Every level you elevate to, every blessing that multiplies in your life, is a reminder to them that no weapon ever prospered. Their attacks crowned you, their hatred promoted you, their downfall became the proof that your destiny was never theirs to control. And so, chosen one, we arrive at the undeniable truth. Every attack against you was just evidence of how unstoppable you are. Their schemes became their downfall, and your rise became the proof that destiny can't be erased. You were never defeated. You were being positioned. Justice has already begun, and the universe has made its move. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments as your sign of victory. Share this with someone who needs the confirmation. You're part of a force spreading light across the world.